From Tally to Cali,
It's time
to wake up.
Wake up! Wake up!
Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up Warchant, presented by Corner Pocket Bar and Grill.
One ball, corner pocket.
Now here's Warchant.com's Aslan Hajavandi.
And Corey Clark.
Wake up! It's Wake Up Warchant presented by Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. Coming up on today's show, mailbag. Questions from you. Questions about development. Is it happening? Is it happening enough? Questions about Doak Campbell Stadium. Will there be a home field advantage in 2024? And we're generating discussion sparked by Cummins. Wake Up Warchant presented by Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. Tallahassee, Florida, 2475 Appalachia Parkway. If you're one of those folks that wants to check out the menu beforehand, cptallybar.com, the website, cptallybar.com. Lunch specials, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m., Monday through Friday. Today, Thursday, cheesesteak sandwich, chicken or steak, side dish of your choosing. All that for only $8.99 at the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, as well as bingo at 7 p.m. So head on over, make some friends, bring some friends at the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. Warchant.com, the ultimate Seminole sports source. 5-star rating and review, please, on the Apple side of this equation. Thumbs up. Subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're listening to us on YouTube with just a nice still image of our faces. You'll see video. You'll see us in live and living color. Well, not live, but you'll see us moving around video at some point in the show as will be generating discussion, courtesy of our great friends over at Cummins and you folks asking the questions on the Renegade Express mailbag. Always appreciate everybody getting involved. Corey Clark, y'all, in the house. Corey, how are you?
I'm good, buddy. How are you doing?
I'm well. Glad to hear that you're doing good. Get to see you soon, I hope. It's been.
Oh, you know it. Oh, and also, Shanna made sure to reach out. She's still a loyal listener, even though we're not betrothed anymore. She said that Brady has, in fact, mowed lawns before.
Okay. All right.
He's mowed her lawn, just not mine, which is good because her lawn is much bigger than mine, so I like that he has to work a little bit.
So she had the better lawyer then, huh?
Hey, on with the show.
On with the show. Hey, speaking of shows, yesterday, our guy Whack169 actually on Wednesday was listening to the Wednesday show, and says, I have not been overly concerned with the wide receiver room until Wednesday morning's Wake Up Warchant when Corey said, I swear I think I heard this right, and if I didn't, please correct me, that a true freshman that has been here for only a few weeks would be wide receiver 2, basically, if the season started today. Did I hear that right? I damn near wrecked my car when I thought I heard him say that.
No, you did not. What I said was, look, I took Ja'Kai out of the equation. I don't know what you want to do with Ja'Kai. He's a slot guy. He's your number 2 guy. And I think Portier, it's a lot to unpack. Like, no, McCoy, I thought, had more like kind of flash plays over the course of the spring than anybody else, not named Ja'Kai or Malik. But McCoy, until he was unavailable, was also going against different players. Yeah. There wasn't a lot of McCoy-Azarie matchups. Understand, he's a freshman. He's running with different people and against different people. So if he was having to go up against Cypress and Shaheem and Azarie and guys like that, Quindarius, it might not look the same. So, no, I thought he had the most splash kind of flash plays, the ones where I was like, okay, that's nice. Than maybe anybody else through those first few 2-3 weeks. But I would never – I did not mean to imply that he was going to be a starter in 2024. I would be as impressed as I was by him, I would be stunned if he's starting in 24.
Yeah.
But a lot to like there. Was
yeah.
Kind of my overall point was he did show a lot of potential.
Well, and I think for me, speaking for me, I think so much of it is everything being relative. He had a very quiet recruitment. He committed to Florida State, didn't do any of the games, and then he kind of shows up and he wasn't, like a high 4-star or like a 150 kind of guy. So you're thinking like, okay, total redshirt candidate. And then you see him moving around. You're like, well, this kid's got something now, it seems like. But again, to your point, like it was him going up against a different caliber of athlete as well. So it's always hard to kind of gauge.
And I was kind of comparing him against Van Dravius, who I didn't see a lot out of. That's not sour grapes. We talked about that. He didn't look the same as he did last spring. Hakeem didn't have a great spring in my mind. And then I just thought he was significantly better than the other 2 true freshmen that were on the roster for spring practice, Cam Fryer and Gibson. I just thought he was further ahead. That doesn't mean they can't catch up. That doesn't mean that they'll never be on a par with LaWayne McCoy. I just think right now, like, look at Van Travius and Hakeem, for example. Van Travius last spring, he looked like the super-duper 5-star, and Hakeem looked like, what's going on here? How did he even get to this place? Mm-hmm. By the fall, Hakeem was the better receiver. And so that can happen. It's just that, LaWayne McCoy, I wasn't even like comparing him, honestly, to like Portier and Williamson and those guys. I didn't mean to. It was more about the first and second year guys. To me, he stood out more than anyone.
All right, then. Let's get on these ponies. Let's do the Renegade Express. We'll start off with our guy, Shoe Catcher. Wake up. What's the meaning behind Shoe Catcher? Post that in the reply to the thread. Reply to the thread, rather, please, Shoe Catcher. Very curious. Many schools, including Florida State, don't seem to be putting much effort into staging spring games these days. Even those programs that still have an actual scrimmage play very vanilla, don't show their hand in any way. This allows defenses to dial in limited offense that they're very familiar with. There is little for fans or media to take away from these events. With realignment and full in-conference scheduling coming soon, would it make sense? And he put $ for the S's in cents. Would it make sense for the Power 2 teams to use spring games to tune up against teams from lesser conferences than in previous years they would have played during the season?
No, I like the idea. The problem is, especially if you're playing a team, like say you're playing FIU. Think of the 70 kids on that roster in the spring that are mad that Florida State didn't recruit them and want to, more than anything, show out that they want to be in Tallahassee. Well, they might play a little more physically than you'd like. Maybe they don't care that your quarterback is wearing green or turquoise. That's my biggest. That would absolutely be my biggest concern when it came to something like that. Is if it's not a game, you don't want to treat it like a game. They would treat it like a game, and with injury risk being at the way it is, and I know that's probably a glass half empty way to look at it. It would be a great tune-up for both teams, and it would be a lot better for the fans. But I couldn't see how that would happen. And we talked about this on Headlines. It's crazy to me that they still have those mixed scrimmages practices in the NFL. Hey, the Jags are in Jags are going
Tampa,
to Tennessee to play the Titans. What? Yeah. In early August? Why? For what possible purpose would you do that? But they still do it all the time.
Yeah, I kind of want to give benefit of the doubt to Norvell. I think he mentioned he wouldn't be against doing spring games against other schools. Maybe I'm imagining that, but I thought he sounded like he would be open to that, but not everybody is. But the lack of having true options at quarterback really made this the best case scenario. I mean, the showcase is the best you could really do with only having really one true scholarship quarterback, although I think that the whole plan all along was to do the showcase. But it's funny because, again, following so many high school coaches on Twitter, Corey, they love players that play a lot of sports. They hate specialization. Even these football coaches don't want their guys just to do nothing but football all the time. They want them to go and do track and field. They want them to play basketball because competition. They want them to be in game situations, feeling stress, having to compete for a win, rather than doing a 7-on-7 camp or having a personal trainer that's putting them through all these individual drills for football. And I would like to see scrimmages. If you've got Texas, man, you've got Quinn Ewers and you've got Arch Manning. Make that a legitimate game. I mean, I know Ewers has got lots of experience and he came back for a reason, but make this a game. Show each other. Let these two guys duel it and duke it out so they can help really put clarity to the picture that they have at quarterback. But Florida State would have been pretty unfair, I think, to have DJ go up against anybody else. But I guess you could have.
He could have been all-time quarterback.
Yeah, or he could stagger the rosters a little bit. I would like to see that happen, and I don't know why they've gone so far away from it. I don't know if it's to hide so much, or and you really can't say it's to protect yourselves because they're still scrimmaging to a large degree. I mean, the showcase was a game to a large degree, so
it really doesn't matter for our sakes, though. And I'm talking about you and me personally, because we are lucky enough that we get to see all the practices. So seeing the spring game isn't really the reveal for us that it is for the fans. That's why I hope they don't ever go away from it completely, because it is a cool way to see the guys for fans to hear and see the guys they've been hearing about for the last 6 weeks. To see them actually, okay, let's see what Lucas looks like. Let's see how good Malik Benson is, or how far DJ can throw it, and all that. That's cool for them to see. Man, other than when Jimbo got here, and for whatever reason, I think because it was Saban's blueprint, felt the need to pump up the spring game as if it was a sign of fan loyalty. Like, let's pack it out for the spring game as if it matters at all. I'll tell you this. People that have listened to this show for a long time know my history with this program, know my history with the fandom for this program, and that I've been coming to games since the 80s and was a huge fan. I never once even thought about coming to a spring game. My dad never even brought it up.
Yeah.
They've never mattered. They started mattering for a window. And I'm not saying spring practice doesn't matter. Spring practice is still very valuable. The game itself, for whatever reason, there was like a 5 or 7 year window where all these Saban disciples, Kirby did it too at Georgia, where they thought that was some, a way to a showcase for their program. And in reality, it's a scrimmage. And it so happened this year, the two cool things you would have liked to seen were Brock Glenn and Cromenhawk, and you didn't even get to see them. I mean, I guess you wanted to see DJ because you haven't seen him either, but you guys have seen DJ play a lot of football. So yeah, I don't know. I think there's a better chance that it just goes away out of college. It's just removed from college football than it is it ever gets to a point where you're playing other teams.
I hope you're wrong. I'd be stoked to play FIU. I think that'd be awesome.
I know FIU would be stoked.
Well, yeah, I just don't think they'll be out for blood. But I get what you're saying. I beg to differ. Let's go to James B. He's actually updated his username, so it's James B on Warchant now.
Yeah, he told me that. Yeah, he'd been. What did he say? He was?
JTB Seminole, I think. Is what it was. I didn't want to give it away, but I just
blew up his spot.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Wake up! I believe this is my second or third time posting a question in the Renegade Express. It's the one thing that I have not participated in to a great extent, but I always enjoy the questions and your responses. That being said, try this one on for size. After spring 2022, I remember tons of fans had varying opinions on that team, and their season predictions were anywhere from 7-5, 8-4, maybe 6-6. They were quite diverse. After last year's spring, and a 10-win season, those predictions were 10-2, 11-1. There were lots of fans that felt, shoot, we can maybe go 13-0. I feel this year we're back to the unknown of 2022. So many new players, so many untested players. What is the main aspect to this 2024 that makes it superior to that 2022 team and will carry FSU to at least another 10-win season? Thank you, gentlemen. Go Noles.
That's a good question. I think just overall quality of depth everywhere. Who was the backup in 22? I know Rodemaker did. I'm talking about quarterback, sorry. Rodemaker had a really nice moment against Louisville, which was awesome. We'll always remember that. But you had no real I don't know that you felt great about the talent behind. You didn't even really feel great about Jordan, honestly, going into 2022. I think Norvell did, but nobody else did. The wide receiver room, yeah, I think maybe you're better than, in hindsight, Johnny and Micah was a pretty nice combo to have. But I think overall, especially defensive line, I just think you think about 2022, man. Jared Burse went down in Louisville. Who else went down? Fabian went down against LSU.
Robert Scott went down in that game.
But wasn't Josh
Jordan,
Farmer?
obviously.
Josh Farmer and Patrick Payton were thrown out there.
Yeah,
in the Louisville game, right?
Yeah.
Well, now if your starter gets hurt, you're throwing out Lola Hea, an all Pac-12 member. You know what I mean?
Right.
In a defensive line, if whoever goes down, if Farmer goes down, well, then you got the kid from West Virginia or the kid from Colorado, guys that have played a lot of football that are grown men. So I just think that's the difference across the board is quality depth with guys that can play. Not elite, but not dudes that have no clue if they're any good or not, or even if they belong in college football. And quite frankly, that 2022 roster still had more than a few guys that didn't belong at this level. I think that has been parsed out significantly since then.
I think it's the head coach has done it now, right? Like going into 2022, you lost to an interim Florida team to not be bowl eligible. So there wasn't a lot of great vibes going into 2022. But
you mean as far as trusting them? Just benefit of the doubt?
Yeah. Listen,
sure.
I get it. He did good at Memphis, well at Memphis. I still just think you still have to prove it to me at this level for me to buy in because we've gone over all the people that did great at, group of 5 schools and then went to the Power 5 and never could make it work. Tom Herman, Scott Frost, Willie Taggart, etc. So to finally know that he can get this stuff on track and figure things out, for me, that's the main aspect of why I think this team is superior to 2022. I think Corey's points are valid as well, too. There's more depth, especially on defense. I think the offensive line has more depth. They've played so many more games side by side with each other. Darius, obviously, a huge part of the puzzle. So I think that kind of stuff is why I feel so much better about this team going into the season than I did the 2022 team. And I don't know, do you feel better about DJ in April of 24 than you did about Jordan in April of 2022? I think I do. And I know Jordan actually ended up having a pretty solid 2022, but
a really good 2022,
yeah.
Especially the second half. No, because I was kind of on the Jordan bandwagon, and I did appreciate what he did against Florida, even in a loss. And I think if he doesn't get hurt in that game, they win that game. I had seen the signs coming down the stretch. I had no idea he was going to turn into what he turned into, but I was pretty high on him because I thought what's ironic is I thought they need his legs. I thought his legs gave them something that nobody could account for, and that was going to lead them to, I didn't think 10 wins, but I just felt like his athleticism gave them something that teams couldn't account for. So I thought I was high on Jordan Travis, not as high as he ended up being. I still undershot that. So I don't know. I don't know how to answer that. Because I think DJ is certainly better than he looked on Saturday because I've seen it. I've seen it in games, but I also have seen it the last 3 weeks in this offense. So maybe. I don't know. It's a good question. I didn't know anything about Trey Benson, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Didn't know anything about Trey Benson. Didn't know anything really about Johnny. So there was just so many unknowns going in there. Wouldn't it be cool if Malik had a Johnny-like impact and the combination of Roydell Williams and Jalen Lucas had a Trey Benson-like impact? That's all out there. It's possible.
Yeah. Random_John, good morning, guys. I consider you to be pretty dialed into FSU athletics and know what's really going on. With that said, when in the Bennigan's Monte Cristo sandwich is happening with the basketball team? Help us Hoops fans out. Why are so many players leaving, and why aren't there any decent players coming in mass with all the playing time available?
I looked it up. So Jameer Watkins, for those that don't know, on Wednesday declared for the NBA.
Oh,
officially.
did he?
Yeah, so he's gone.
Oh, no.
Jalen Worley is gone. Primo Spears is gone. Baba is gone. Cameron Corrin is gone.
Holy smokes.
Darren Green is gone. Dante Green is gone. Nickelberry, the great Nickelberry, is gone.
Oh.
Literally, I think the two people they have left on the roster are Chandler Jackson and Taylor Bowen. Those are the two. Tom House is gone. They have two scholarship players left from this past roster. Now, they did get a big man on Wednesday, a JUCO kid that averaged 15 points a game. Don't know his name. Honestly, don't care. But they did, and they got a transfer from Hampton that averaged 10 points per game. And
Jerry Dang, baby. Jerry Dang.
Actually, Jerry Dang from Norcross High School, which is 5 minutes from my high school.
Let's go.
I grew up in Norcross. Jimmy Carter Boulevard is in Norcross, everyone. So I got nothing but love for Jerry Dang. Or as somebody on headlines called him, a black Jerry.
That's right. The big riddle. Name a black Jerry, everybody.
We couldn't. I came up with Jerry Judy finally, and none of us could think of Jerry effing Rice. But anyway,
by the way, the JUCO All-American is Malik Ewan.
Okay. All right. JUCO All-American. That's something. He might be awesome. We don't know. Bernard James was an All-American. Or I don't even know if he's an All-American, but he was a JUCO big man that turned out to be really good. The overall question, though, is a good one. It's a fair one. It is really depressing. I don't unless a miracle happens in the next week, which could. Clearly, it would look like they don't have any sort of money NIL money to keep even average-ish ACC players on this roster. So they're having to take chances with guys from Hampton and guys from JUCO and freshmen. And now maybe after Leonard's last year, there is some excitement built into the program and some more money comes that way. But by and large, to me, it looks like this is right now, they don't have a roster. This is a white flag of a season, and it's really depressing. For somebody that loves basketball like I do, really enjoys and admires that coaching staff like I always have, it knows where they were and what they did for this sport, this university before COVID, right up until COVID, when the football team was in dire straits and they gave us some hope and something fun to talk about. It's really, really depressing. But clearly it looks like they are having trouble in the NIL space getting any – or the other thing is they don't know who their coach is going to be in 2 years. And they don't know what conference they're going to play in. All that could be on the table when you're talking about younger underclassmen as far as like grad transfers and seniors that have proven themselves at the college level. It just seems undeniable at this point that they don't have competitive NIL in that space to get players right now, which is very depressing.
Well, the depressing thing is it felt like 2 years ago was rock bottom, you know?
I mean, literally, like Chandler Jackson might average 30 a game just because who else is going to shoot? My man is going to he's going to shoot 29 times a game. He's got to love it. He better not leave. Chandler, you're our only hope, man.
The franchise, man.
Yeah, you are the franchise.
Yeah, I just feel like they should do like a rotating Texas A&M 12th man, just pick the best guy from a pickup game at Leach Center every week and throw him out there.
Probably going to be a football player. But, yeah, get a football player out there.
Yeah, is everybody, I know they said Hamsey used to play really well, but he's obviously gone. I wonder if there's anybody on the roster right now. Keon's obviously gone too. That would have been a nice bit of help. But, yeah, I don't know. It's a bummer. But
it is. It is.
You laid it out, though, Corin. That was the answer. All right, Dalvinism. Wake up. Am I wrong to be a little concerned about what the stadium construction is going to do to our home field advantage this year? It's a bummer seeing Doak hollowed out, and I'm afraid of what the environment for the Clemson and Florida games will be like. Is that overly dramatic or a real issue?
Well, I think for this year only, I don't know if it's it might be a little dramatic, but I don't think it's
an issue.
Yeah, I think it is something that we could talk about. I think for this year only, they should move Florida State to the other sideline and leave the dirt and make the opposing team have to deal with whatever. You could do anything with that space behind them. Yeah. It could be a swamp. It could be you could have it could be like a kid's playground. How annoying would that be? You're trying to play a football game. Yeah, you could have a grassy knoll. Well, don't bring your weapons to it, but you could. But I think if you had like a playground with kids, you know how annoying. We all know it, guys. We love our kids. Nobody wants to say this. Kids are so annoying, and just their screams, their loudness, their laughter. I don't mean screams as in they're terrified. Right. I mean that's the problem with kids. They scream just to scream. They scream when they're happy, and it's ear splitting. So put those people behind Clemson in Florida, and they're trying. The offensive coordinator's trying to talk to his O-line, and he's got Jimmy and Becky 20 feet away screaming at each other about a fudge sickle. Just saying, there's your home field advantage. But overall, yes, it'll be a difference. It's going to be 15,000 less seats?
Yeah.
20,000? Yeah, it's going to be a 20, difference. I mean, honestly, it seems like it's Florida State's luck. They had to play at Clemson 2 years in a row at Clemson. Now they get Clemson back here again. And it's going to be in Florida, and those are the two biggest games on the schedule every 2 years. And it's going to be this. It happens to be this year when they're not at full capacity. So that's just Florida State's luck here lately. But yeah, I do think I think it's worthy of bringing up.
Yeah, because also like the acoustics, right? And it's not even so much.
Do you think maybe it'll be louder bouncing off that cement wall, or less loud?
I think it's gonna be less loud because it's a void. Like the sound's just going to go into that void and dissipate as opposed to like ricocheting back off the other people that were standing there and beating their feet on the metal bleachers. And I don't know, we'll have to get maybe, we're going to have some time off here. Well, not time off, but a little slower time. Maybe we'll get like an acoustic engineer on here to talk about what's going to happen. We can really
we also have to know exactly what it's going to. I don't really have in my mind's eye after being in that stadium on Saturday what exactly it's going to look like for games. Is the dirt still going to be there?
No, because isn't there going to be temporary bleachers set up?
Right, but what does that look like? Is it like, are they bringing them over from Gene Cox? Are they high school bleachers?
I think it's probably going to be similar to the outfield lines at Hauser. I would imagine like they're bolted down, those ones in Hauser, but they're not.
Right. But
impressive.
they're kind of high schoolish, right?
Yeah.
You have to. What else would you bring? You're not going to bring like stadium seats from Fenway. So yeah, you're going to have like a high school bleacher. I just wonder.
Or maybe golf. Have you been to a golf event, like a PGA Tour event? They've got those portable bleachers, but they're nice. They're not like metal high school bleachers. They're like actual plastic.
See, now
seats.
what if you made that sideline? If you put Clemson on that sideline and made it like the what is that? The 16th hole out in Phoenix?
Okay, yeah, Waste Management.
Yeah, right. Make it like the Waste Management 16th hole, and it is just pure chaos the whole time. You're just throwing stuff everywhere. Yeah. Not on them. We're not assaulting them, but near them. Just going crazy, yelling and screaming the whole time, and make it just like a drunken stew. Something to think about. You only get one shot at this, gang. You only get one shot. You really could do anything you want in that space for those 7 home games.
I think it's worth asking Norvell the next time we see him if he has any thoughts on, not even for the aspect of, our crazy pie in the sky vision of wanting to put like these crazy people behind the visiting team, but there's why would you want to be on that sideline?
I think there's one. It's 1 year where you flip it, and you let Florida State be on the other sideline because that's where all your fans are going to be. Yeah. Make the opposing fans sit in those temporary bleachers. I guess some of them will be really good seats, though. They'll be at like the 50.
Yeah. Armchair Osceola, wake up. As I peruse the spring reports brought to us near daily by the exquisite Warchant team, a question begins to percolate in my mind. Now, listen, I'm a huge Norvell and company fan. I firmly believe he's a top 3 coach in all of college football right now. But, parenthetically, for the sake of argument, if I had to identify an area for improvement, would it be fair to say the impact of high school recruits? Besides Azarie, which Norvell recruits from high school have been a splash. I realize it's still early to some extent, but it feels like very few of them have taken the field by storm. Receivers becoming household names in year 2, ripping away starting job from an upperclassman, things of that nature. What say you?
Yeah, I mean, it's the one thing. Once this draft happens, which starts today, and we assume Jared Verse is going to go. There's an outside chance, it sounds like. I know, what's our man's name? Is it Tom Pelissero?
Yes.
He's an NFL reporter. He tweeted a day or two ago that he's hearing that Keon could sneak into the late first round. But, I mean, take all that with all the salt. Fisk, too, maybe could be a late first rounder. But it might just be one guy drafted tonight in the first round for Florida State. But the point being, once this box gets checked off, where Florida State's going to have 8, 9, 10 maybe players drafted, because that's the box he's had 2 players drafted since he's been here, right? That were kind of his guys. Jamie Robinson and Jermaine Johnson were guys he brought in, and they've been drafted. That's
not
it.
High school guys, though.
No, but they're still they're Florida State guys that he brought in. Well, now that's going to be that's going to go up to 10 or 12. So you can check that box now. Oh, you can come to Florida State and go to the NFL. Look at all these guys that came from other programs that Florida State helped get them to the NFL. So that's a box to check off. The one we're talking about now, though, with high school recruits is probably the last one. Yes. I honestly don't know how vital it is to be incredible at high school recruiting if you continue to do it like this in the portal. But it would be nice for other guys. As I've always said, you are allowed to develop an offensive lineman in the last half decade. Literally in the last half decade, they'd have not recruited a kid since they got here, other than that first class that has started for them on the offensive line. Now, you can say that's because Maurice and Darius and Robert Scott have been so good. But, you could also say, well, what about these other guys? Are they pushing them? Because you keep bringing in portal dudes. I think Patrick Payton belongs in the Azarie boat.
Yeah.
He's close to that. That's Shaheem.
Yeah.
I think those 3 guys are NFL players for sure.
I mean, Ja'Kai was,
I love Ja'Kai. You guys know I'm on the Ja'Kai. Yeah. Yes, he is, and he was. Toafili. Now, these guys aren't superstars, but they're a core part of this team. That you that's the next step. You would like to see Hakeem become an NFL wide receiver, Blake Nicholson become an NFL linebacker, caliber, or a starter. That I do think that's the next step. Is these high school recruits making a real impact. Toafili, you can't deny it. Shaheem and Patrick Payton and Azarie have all made real impacts. But, most of the impactful players they've had the last 2 years are transfer guys. I do think that will get closer to at least 50-50, But right now the transfer portal is winning that heavily. But I don't think that means that he can't recruit high school kids.
Yeah, and Robert Scott's body has kind of failed him too, but he was
yes.
His trajectory was to probably end up being an impactful player, maybe the next level. And it's still possible here, but obviously we'll see how he looks when he finally is able to get back in there. But yeah, I'm glad how he said it's still early to some extent, which sounds crazy going to year 5. But again, in terms of having a good product to sell, and I know it's always been a good brand, some say an iconic brand to sell, but you've really only had 2 classes, like 23 and 24. So let's see,
to sell the Florida State that it is now.
Yeah, to high school kids,
right?
like, all right, listen,
yes.
Yeah, we put Jermaine Johnson and Jamie in the league or whatever, but they didn't win a lot of football games here. Like, we're winning football games here now, and I can get you to the league, and we have a competitive NIL program. Now it's hopefully this 25 class, you can start stacking on top of what you did in 24 with a guy like Luke Croman Hawk, and then you're really kind of cooking with grease. But yeah, they've only really been able to pitch for 2 years.
It doesn't count as a high school recruit, but you got to give him credit for Jordan Travis.
Yeah, he developed
You just
him.
got to, man. He was developed at Florida State. He was believed in at Florida State. This was not the story of DJ. This was a guy that nobody really wanted. The first time he was available to be recruited, he came here with Willie. He was kind of an afterthought, I think, when Norvell took over, and then look what he became. And so I do think Norvell and Dillingham and Tokars do get credit for that. That was not a gift that just fell in their lap. They helped make that gift, in my opinion.
Another name too, Conrad Hussey, right? He's probably competing for a starting spot.
Yeah,
beside,
you're right. Yep. Quindarius, I think, can really play. Yeah. They got some guys coming up, but I get the point. Like, you want to see that this year. You want to see these high school recruits that are now kind of working their way into the 2 deep and the 1 deep for some of them start to really make an impact.
Let's keep it transfer portal-ish. Seminole Carroll, wake up, Warchant. I decided to generate a question around the transfer portal with a tribal time machine on board to keep us charged up as champions, where we could travel back into the past. You both can choose one player from each of the 3 national championship teams, one from 93, one from 99, one from 2013, to add to the 24 team from this tribal time machine generator. What 3 players do you add in this portal of the past from the blast of the past? It's really clever. I just can't read really well because...
Yeah, you screwed that whole thing up.
Sorry.
Hey, everybody, Carol. Go to the website. You can read it how it was supposed to be read.
Again, one player from 93, one from 99, and then one from 2013.
So
Derek Brooks, Peter Warwick, Jameis Winston.
So probably the right answers. Can we take quarterback off the table? Because I take Charlie Ward over Derek Brooks. Okay. And then Peter Warwick is absolutely the right answer for 99. 2013. Take Jameis off the table. That's too easy.
Kelvin or Rashad? Or Roberto? Do you want an automatic kicker?
Nope. Hey, we already got an automatic kicker.
Good. Yeah,
you got Fitz Magic. What's the matter with you?
Rashad. I love Kelvin, but, I mean, Rashad was more consistent. And that's what we need, right? We need consistency. So, Rashad.
Man, but that body frame really entices you. That body frame really entices
you. Team KB, man. Team KB.
But, yes, I think you go receiver from 13. But, golly, man. You could have
use Jernigan.
Jernigan.
Right?
I mean, Jalen Ramsey. I mean, that 13 team. That was loaded. That was a fun team. I think the answer.
Listen, we talked about receiver and defensive line as your 2 biggest needs right now if you're Florida State in the portal. So it's got to be one of those guys. It's got for one of those positions.
Yeah, I get it. I know what I said yesterday. I know what I said about receiver being a necessity, and I love Kelvin and Rashad in 13. Those guys were great. Rashad was great his whole career at Florida State. I'm leaning towards Jernigan.
Okay.
Imagine that guy paired up with Marvin, Patrick Payton, Daryl Jackson, Lola. I mean, good night.
Yeah.
That makes you almost that would be a really, really big deal. Especially if he would get rest. He wouldn't have to play all the time. He'd be like, you'd only get Timmy Jernigan for 34 snaps a game, which is kind of what you got in 13 anyway, because they were always so far ahead. Yeah, that's a tough one. I would say I don't think it's tough for 93 or 99. I would say Charlie and Peter Warwick. But 2013, if we take Jameis out of the equation, I think I go with Jernigan. Good question, though. I want a question about one of the awful teams in Florida State history, or like a mediocre team. Who would you take off that team? like 2006, 1983. You know what I mean? 2017. Who would you take off those teams?
Auden Tate, 2017.
That's a really good answer, Aslan. Well done.
Yeah. It's got the vitamin energy. That's why. It's flowing in me right now. I got the Mood Plus. Feeling good. Looking good. After 14 days of using vitamin energy shots, clinical participants in a trial agreed, 75% of them, that the shot was able to allow them to focus and concentrate better. 82% felt energized very quickly after taking the shot and felt less fatigued throughout the day. 78% agreed that the shots reduced brain fog. They were effective at reducing brain fog. What you waiting for, everybody? Come over. VitaminEnergy.com, promo code WarChampBOGO, WarChamp BOGO. Nole alums spearheading the effort here to get your days energized with nutrients as well. And this one little shot that's not even 2 ounces. You can take it wherever you want. Somebody the other day was telling me they're pouring it in their water at the beginning of the day, almost like a Mio, some would say, kind of going off the Corey Clark book.
Right.
Shout out to our guy, Ray Pereira. I remember Ray in Orlando before the LSU game at that bar, Hooch or whatever. He was throwing it into his cocktail so he could stay up and go at, just be a party animal, man. That's how he rolls.
Somebody told me at a golly, I wish I could remember. I almost want to text Stephanie to see if she can remember. Somebody at the tailgate I was at on Saturday was saying that they take the 8-hour sleep one.
Oh yeah,
and it really helps. Like really helps. They had had a hard time going to sleep for a long time, and that really helped them develop good sleeping habits.
Boom. Yeah, there's melatonin in this stuff. There's lots of good stuff in the 8-hour sleep as well. Sometimes I think even when you use the WarChamp BOGO code, they'll still throw in like an 8-hour sleep box. So roll the dice, see if that happens. If not, though, you're still getting one for free when you buy one at vitaminenergy.com. Use that promo code WarChamp BOGO, WarChamp BOGO. Our guy, Armchair Osceola, offered some advice on his way out, saying, Aslan, are we dealing with St. Augustine or Bermuda grass? We're dealing just with terrible grass. My yard is just a mess. Ruthless_gay says, no question, but some yard advice for Aslan. Do not lower the blade too much on your mower. You'll get more weeds. And when it's hotter, your yard will burn up. Embrace the yard work while listening to a good podcast or whatever you're listening to while working out.
Yeah, Brady told me to mention that to you as well when we were talking about Brady and I always wrap up the podcast when I'm done. And he said, yeah, tell Aslan to not, blade doesn't need to be too low.
Okay.
Because he's apparently a lawn mowing fool. I didn't know that. I got a lawnmower. He should be mowing it here.
4 people liked the post from Ruthless_gay, so I will take that under advisement and integrate that into my work here. Hey, can I throw a curveball at you, Corey? I should have probably prepared you for this one. It's off topic, and it's somebody that's been involved in a lot of the Renegade Express. He actually DM'd this to me, though. And he's going through a situation that he doesn't want us to read about out loud. But if I don't use his name, is it okay?
I would think, but I don't know. Let me put it to you this way. Off the record means off the record. It doesn't mean anonymous source. It doesn't mean if you want to get information from me on something, I say it's completely off the record. It's background. Do not quote me at all. That does not mean then tell my story and quote me, but say an anonymous source said. It just means completely off the record.
All right.
So my thought would be it's off. If he doesn't want to talk about it, just let's not.
Okay.
But what did he want to know? No, I'm just kidding.
Lady stuff, going through with a lady, like breakup stuff. But
well, yeah. Can you make it vague?
Yeah, I'm not going to say any like personal details or, but he's been
just like how to be,
Yeah, like how do I bounce back? Basically, he's been engaged to somebody for a while, and the engagement's not going to go through. So, and I don't know, man. Like I've only had 2 relationships that were serious, and neither made it that far along. And yeah,
it's weird that he asked you and not me.
I don't know, man.
Just because I've had long term. No, that wasn't a shot at you.
No,
I
it's
just
fine.
had long term relationships.
All right, I'm going to die alone.
But happy-ish.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Go on a trip with the guys, man. I don't know. Rally, start a group text, reach out to some of the friends. I know it's been a while. We lost touch or whatever, but let's get the band back together and maybe at least just, for one weekend, get your mind off of it. And then you can go a day at a time after that one. It's cheesy, but like the time healing all wounds thing, it really is the only thing that kind of helps, unfortunately. And I can't give you more time, but it's going to get, it'll get easier, I guess, right?
Get in really good shape.
Okay,
If you're
revenge body, yeah.
Yeah, that would be my, and that's not why I'm doing it. I'm happy. That's not what I've been doing the last 2 years. Clearly, I've been in a relationship, but I think that would be something that would really, number one, it's something that you get dedicated to. And it really does fill up some time and a lot of mind space.
Yep.
Is just get in there and like you have a goal, and the goal could even be like you said, revenge. It could be like vengeance or just. Not vengeance, but like
self-love too.
If I ever do run into her again, what is she going to think of this?
That's right. That's right.
But by that time, by that time, you won't care. Hopefully, you'll be moved on. You're not trying to torment her, but it's always nice to when you do run into a partner to look better than you did an ex-partner than you did when you were together. Yeah. So they can just lament. They can just lament a little more and long for you.
Friends, if you got better advice, post it in the replies to the thread that I'll post with the show. If you want to offer some advice to one of our valued subscribers. YouTube folks, you can also throw comments in there as well. We're community, gosh darn it. We're going to help each other out. Tennis Ump, wake up. I'm saying the over-under for the number of Noles drafted this week at 8.5. Which way do each of you go? What's your prediction? As an aside, on Tuesdays, I go to a local establishment at lunch and I listen to the local sports radio broadcast and BS with them on commercial breaks. Interestingly, I tried to get them to bet me when I said that Florida State would have more players drafted than Alabama. None of them would take the bet, even though they're all Alabama fans and one's an alum. They begrudgingly admitted that, yes, Florida State was more than just one player and had a hell of a lot of talent.
Yep. We all know that. We documented it. I would say over 8.5.
All right. Jordan Travis, I think, is the 8th or 9th best quarterback on Mel Kiper's board, behind like Spencer Rattler and Michael Pratt from Tulane, which is a little bit disrespectful. But I think he's going to get drafted. Right? I mean, if he's the 9th best quarterback according to Mel Kiper, he's getting drafted.
He would get drafted. Yeah, that's one thing. It's like I don't even account for him, which I should, but he's not even somebody I'm accounting for. That's almost like a bonus. I'm obviously thinking about Verse, Coleman, Fisk, 3, Jarian Jones,
4, Renardo might be third.
Trey Benson. So that's 6. I think that's 6 automatic because I said Jarian too, right?
Yep.
I think Jaheim Bell is a draft. I think Fabian Lovett is a draft.
That's 8.
That's 8. Johnny, I think, is a draft.
9.
So you're at 9.
Jordan would be.
You've got Jordan Travis, Deloach, Akeem Dent, and Bethune, all draftable. So I think you're dead set on 8 for sure. Maybe 9 for sure if Jordan's your 9th. And then you've still got 4 guys out there or 3 guys out there that are easily draftable. Like Deloach, especially now that like kickoffs are coming back. Like a dude a gunner that what did he run, a 4.4 or something?
Who's that?
Like Deloach.
Yeah.
Well, that would be nice to have on a kickoff coverage, which is a thing now again. So I think you're looking at least one of those guys that I mentioned getting drafted. So that puts them, right at 10, 9 or 10?
Yeah.
I stopped counting. But they have a lot of guys that are for sure draftable. I saw somebody had a top 50. It might have been Jeremiah, the NFL.com guy, and he had 5 Florida State guys in the top 50. Jarian was the last one.
Wow, he's got Jarian that high?
Yeah, Jarian at like 150,
awesome.
147 or something, 146. Yeah.
Let's go. All right. Yeah, I'm with you on the over. It's going to be fun, man. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, it will be. Yeah, it'll be a fun few days finally again. I don't know. Are we going to do anything Warchant-wise? Are we going to have like live reaction videos or watch-alongs on Friday night?
I don't know. I mean, it's people are excited about it, but I don't. It's like they just want to know when the guy gets drafted and where. I don't know if they want.
Yeah. I think we should probably do a video when it's all wrapped up each day, but maybe not a watch-along on a Friday night.
Right.
People probably doing things.
All right, let's go. Next question here. It's our guy from Naples, M. Adam CZ. 2 graphs, 2 for 1 looks like. This one is pretty relevant to what's going on. I think it's worth discussing in great detail. Let's go ahead. Let's fire up the cannons. Let's fire up the cameras and that generator. Yeah. Oh, I love that sound. You can barely hear it, Corey. You can barely hear it.
Yeah.
It's generating discussion sparked by Cummins. Follow them over at Cummins Lifestyle on Instagram. You can talk to talk, or you can walk to walk, though, like our guy Shoe Catcher. You can talk to talk and just follow on Instagram. That's fine. Cummins Lifestyle. Do it. Our guy Shoe Catcher the other week, Corey, was saying +1 on Cummins. He Here in the Blue Ridge Mountains, the power goes out with storms every now and then. I had a Cummins generator installed. It's been great, seamless, reliable. Nice. The company that installed it gave me the choice between that and the more common Generac. But once they explained the difference in quality, having worked extensively on both, the Cummins was a no-brainer.
Okay, all right.
There we go, making believers out of all of us. Our guy Shoecatcher, shout out to him, involved early in the show with the question. Again, go to Cummins Lifestyle on Instagram. Give them a follow. Noles at the controls of this global power leader, if you will. That's it. Let's get to the question from our guy, Mark. Kind of talk a little bit behind inside baseball a little bit, Core, just about where we're at in this day and age of college athletics. And says, it's crazy how different the college football world is these days. Before NIL and the transfer portal, you'd have your spring camp, spring game, and there was almost nothing to talk about. National Sign Day was done. Now, spring camp's over. We're speculating about which 10 or 12 players are going to leave and who Portal King Mike is going to bring in to improve the roster. Do you guys prefer the current landscape because it may be more exciting to cover for Warchant, or do you prefer the good old days when you knew what your roster would be and didn't have to worry about the crazy free agent market in college football?
I feel like to answer this correctly is hypocritical, because I did like the old version better. I did not like this free-for-all, free agency all the time, every month, every year. But at the same time, if this didn't exist, how many of y'all would be watching this? Like, how many people would be listening to this? You know what I mean? Like, it's the transfer portal and the NIL has helped Florida State so much that me bemoaning it seems a little bit hypocritical. And so, yeah, I'm trying.
You'd be hypocritical if you were the Florida Gators because you aren't taking advantage of it. You know, then
I can't say that I wish it was back to the good old days when if it was still the way it worked in the good old days. How long would it take in Norvell to get to a 13-0 season under the old structure of having to build a roster, and you don't get to go get Jared Verses and Keon Coleman's and Johnny Wilson's and Jordan Travis's and on and on and on. So Trey Benson's. So that's why I'm saying it's being hypocritical to like kind of long for that part, that day and age of college football, but then know that it would have negatively affected all of our lives if that day and age still existed.
I mean, you're right. You know,
hey, thank you, man. I appreciate that.
The show, who knows who's talking on this camera right now? There wasn't a transfer portal, but I just long for the days of ignorance being bliss. Like, I get it. You know, whoever the Battle's End or the Grove Collective or whatever Miami calls theirs, Florida Glorious or Victorious, whatever the Gators call theirs, players are getting paid before that. But, you know, there's a few guys you felt like, and you could kind of live with it. But when you see tweets from reporters saying that this player's agent confirms he's going to go visit, I found out last year that apparently players are now getting paid to come visit. It's just something that has taken away some of the glimmer of the sport for me. And again, I think a lot of it too is probably the fact that I actually have to cover it now for a living. I'm looking at it all the time. There's not a lot of days, Saturdays, where I can just kind of be a fan and just watch the sport overall. But yeah, like I'm almost more bothered by the proliferation of coaching staffs than I am the transfer portal, which I know isn't the question. But like the good old days to me too was our 85 and our 10 coaches against you guys. Now it's, well, we've got 39 analysts and they've broken down every single play that you've run an ace formation with a strong set for the last 10 years. So like they know, I feel there's a level of gamesmanship that's been eliminated from college football that's made it kind of sterile and very much NFL light, which I don't like. So I do miss the good old days, but I realize there's no putting the toothpaste back in the tube or the genie back in the bottle.
And for our selfish reasons, because we're a part of a company that covers almost predominantly, Florida State athletics as a whole, but Florida State football is the driving force. Selfishly, it's great for us because there really isn't much of an off season from June, I guess middle of May to like middle of July is kind of your off season. And that's it. No. Like other than that, it's nonstop. It's become like and look, I don't report recruiting, but it used to be recruiting would take over December 15th or whatever. And that would be the lifeblood of the website for 2 months. And then it disappears for another 8 months. Well, now the portal keeps you going the whole time. It literally keeps you go from bowl game to transfer. You go from ACC championship game, portal, bowl game, not that the one they just played we should think about or counts, back to the portal, then to spring practice, then back to the portal. There's a signing day in there for high school kids as well, 2 of them. It's nonstop. It's become year-round, which is great for our purposes. And I think overall it's made it a lot more like the NFL, where the free agent season is vital. It is a really big deal. That's what's starting to happen. And not starting to. It is happening in college football to even more of a degree, because everybody's a free agent. Every single person out there is a free agent. So you never know what your roster is going to be from one day to the next. And luckily, we have a lot of people that really care about Florida State football, that care about what their roster looks like.
I'll always remember, this is very random, but like the 98 World Cup, Argentina played England in the quarterfinals, I think. And there was a study that showed they believe that London was going to lose somewhere in the ballpark of, I want to say billion with a B, like $1 billion worth of productivity, because everybody was going to check out of working and focus on the game.
Oh.
I wonder how many companies in the Southeast, maybe even Cummins included, have lost productivity because now their employees that are college football fans are glued to this stuff all the time. I mean,
it's nonstop. It's not just one day in February anymore. It's nonstop. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I know Warchant was always around and that gave you an outlet to come check out the website, but I think a lot of people kind of would be like, all right, it's, it's March now, whatever, I'm moving on. I'll wake me back up in August. But it's like, no, this portal thing. And it's vital. Obviously, we've seen how crucial it's been to the development of Florida State. A bonus here, maybe he can be our guy in the bullpen when we need to talk about the ACC versus FSU realignment stuff. On the legal stuff, he says, I'm concerned that the Florida judge ordered the parties to mediation within 120 days. I believe in mediation. I've used it effectively in my practice. That's Mark, not Aslan.
Right.
But 120 days will go really fast, and FSU, as far as we know, is probably not close to completing discovery and organizing a complete picture for a successful mediation. One of Florida State's main themes in this case will be that the ACC acted in a misleading manner and was also incompetent, thus breaching its fiduciary duty to its members. That requires some really effective discovery to prove. As much as we want to exit the ACC like yesterday, I don't know how this case can be mediated within 120 days. Thus, I would not be surprised if the parties stipulated to, let's say, a 90-day extension. Whether the court would accept that stipulation, that's another story.
So then that would be over a year and a half. Or, sorry, a half a year. That'd be 7 months total.
There's your legal eagle beagle news.
Thanks,
everybody.
Mark. Yeah, there you go, Mark. You can get all those kind of comments if you come over to warchant.com.
Yeah, there's your insiders, everybody. Congrats to Mark. He's our weekly winner. He'll enter the drawing for this month of April for a Cummins swag bag, which I hope includes this Travis Matthew polo. I hope they include that. And this thing, I don't want to call it life-changing, but man, it feels really good. Feels really nice. And he also gets a grand prize drawing into the portable generator, portable power station that our friends at Cummins are giving away. Again, folks, just head to Cummins Lifestyle on Instagram. Give them a follow. That's all we ask.
Yep.
FSU Man 5030, wake up. There's a category of players I call the always ascending, never starting. Daniel Lyons, Bryson Estes, Jalen Early are players currently that we hear about progressing and are going to be good players, but can't make it into the 2 deep. Well, I mean, I think Estes is in the 2 deep. I think Early's in the 2 deep.
I think
as well.
Early and Estes are in the 2 deep, yeah.
Tafasi, Kanaya, Charlton seem like they were in this group before they transferred. Kanaya Charlton was never in the 2 deep. This is a very likable young man. And Tafasi,
he's saying like was good but couldn't crack the 2 deep is I think what he's saying.
Okay.
Was in that group, yeah.
What is preventing these type of guys from taking the next step? Seems like we're all still worried about Lyons being second string in his 3rd year. I'm hoping Lucas Simmons, Andre Otto, and KJ Sampson don't get stuck in this purgatory.
Well, I would say this. I get that thought, but why does it matter? I'm not trying to be a jerk there, but I'm saying if Lucas Simmons isn't good enough, if you could go get somebody better than Lucas Simmons, well, then what's the problem? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you want to develop these guys. You want your high school guys to come to fruition and play. But if Lucas Simmons is in line to be your starting tackle next year, but then a kid from Georgia hits the market, who you know is better than Lucas Simmons, and you go get him, and then Lucas Simmons plays behind him or transfers, what's it matter? Like you're a better team with that. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, maybe let's.
I get the concern that like you're not developing at the rate you'd like these high school guys, and it would be a huge problem. Again, not dismissing that concern at all, but the portal is the portal. I mean, it would be a huge problem if we were in 2018. But you didn't develop maybe defensive line the way clearly you didn't. Behind your starters last year. You didn't like what you had coming back. You didn't develop them as well as you should have, maybe. You didn't evaluate in high school like you should have. Well, you still, you got Marvin Jones and Lola Hea. And, again, Durajai. Is that his name, Durajai?
Durajai, yeah. You can just call him Tommy
close.
if you want.
Tommy. You got Tommy. So you went and got guys that are better than the dudes you didn't develop. So if you don't do it, you still got it's good to have options, I guess, if the development doesn't work out.
I was going to try to maybe almost take it from the exercise of, what's preventing these guys from taking the next step in terms of, like, is it bad eval, or is it these guys just aren't physically developing, like, in the weight room quick enough? But, like, I think Andre Otto's a guy that seems to be trending on the right trajectory. Like, I personally don't see it in Lucas Simmons right now. Let's hope, with a summer reset he comes back.
Yeah. And again, redshirt freshman, right?
Yeah, and he was battling, I think, injuries, clearinghouse stuff.
A lot of last season.
Yeah.
Almost all of last season, yeah.
But, like, you look at some of these guys, you're like, well, man, like, I know it's really hard to evaluate offensive linemen, but, like, you can tell guys that move right and then can pick up on instruction. And when you don't see that happening, after practice 30, you're like, well, that's kind of a little bit concerning. But
one thing that I hope I didn't come across as a jerk or dismissive, because this is something I brought up a lot when it comes to offensive line in particular, is how the high school guys just aren't making an impact. They're not making any inroads. And I wonder how much of it is like, back in the old days, you could afford some growing pains. Like, well, hell, 2020, you had nothing. You had those guys had to be thrown out there. You had no choice. And you got some growing pains, and then they developed into all ACC caliber linemen. Some of those guys that went now, their bodies got beat up, some too much, but they developed into good offensive linemen because they went through those battles when you had nobody left. I wonder, when you're Mike Norvell and you're coming off a 5-7 season, and Alex Atkins, you're the OC, maybe you're always going to err on the side of experience. I know what this guy can do, as opposed to I'm going to take some lumps with this guy. Even though his potential might be greater, we can't afford to take more lumps. We've got to be as good as we possibly can for this particular game in the fall of 2022. And then in the fall of 2023, that is also not a time to experiment and try to go through, take your lumps with some of these new guys, because you're trying to chase a championship in an undefeated season. And so this year, of any of the years, seems like it could lend itself to maybe some more experimentation or growing pains on the offensive line if need be, and really see what you have. See what you have in a game. But I don't know if that's going to happen. But I think that the context of the seasons, Norvell couldn't afford another mediocre season in 22. And in 2023, you don't want to sabotage it all by not bringing in guys that can at least play, that can play college football. Casey Roddick wasn't great, but you knew he wouldn't lose you a game. He wouldn't embarrass you. And so, does that make any sense?
Yeah.
That I think that those overriding factors, those really make you coach a little differently when you're like, okay, maybe Armella by November, if we'd have started him early, if we'd have started him against LSU in Orlando, that would have been a problem, probably. But by the Florida game, he might have been really good and ready to take off and maybe been the best offensive lineman. He'd have grown up. But can we afford to do that experiment when we're chasing what we're chasing? So I think that comes into it too.
Several in a row in this sort of line of questioning. Beeham FSU, last week's winner of the generating discussion sparked by Cummins. Wake up. Can we hop back on the roller coaster that is Ron Dugans? Take away Keon Coleman and Johnny Wilson and tell me a success story that he's had. Pokey was above average, not good, but above average. Malik McLean never developed. Jacobs gone. Portier, Williamson, Who knows? The list goes on and on. I know he's a Nole, but when is enough enough?
Who did he say never developed?
Malik McLean.
I mean, he was here for
2 years, I think.
2 years, right? I don't know that you can't just, I mean.
He hasn't been killing it in Happy Valley either, though, so, let's maybe factor that in.
Well, right, but maybe there was nothing to develop, or maybe you got as much out of him as you could. I don't know. I don't know if Malik. There are other instances that were just brought up that I think were better than Malik. That's all Malik McLean, because he was just a sophomore playing in an offense with not a lot of other good receivers. But hey, man, that it's fair. I get it. But yeah, I get it. I get it. Portier and Williamson have not. And the injuries are so big a part of it with both of those guys. Portier, that was his year last year, and he just got hurt.
Yeah.
I really think that was going to be his breakout year, and I'm not saying 50 for 800, but he was going to have some big moments that season. It would have been awesome to have him at Clemson. Oh, you want to cut? I think having somebody like Portier as another guy out there would have. I just think he would have ate. And Jordan trusted him and would have thrown to him. Other than that, and Ja'Kai wasn't even back then, right? I don't think Ja'Kai was playing in September. If he was, much.
Yeah,
so it was really just two dudes. But yeah, it's. I mean, I don't.
He can't make the guys get taller and faster. Like, he can't coach that. You can't coach height. You really can't coach speed. Josh Orms can do all he can. Maybe you take off 0.05 of a second or something. If you're lucky, absolutely fortunate, over the moon lucky, like 100th of a second off your 40. But again, like, football speed is a whole different sort of animal. They haven't recruited like an elite wide receiver other than Hakeem Williams, really.
Right.
So let's see if he can kind of maybe develop this year. And if you're still spinning your wheels, then I guess you can take it a little bit more seriously. Or I don't want to say you're not taking it seriously. I understand the frustration, but I just feel like, I mean, I don't know who's like the top wide receiver coach in the country, with who they have.
I'll tell you, it's guys that get really good receivers to come to their school.
Yeah.
Now that's something you can say, but you get really good. Jeff Bowden, look at the dudes he put in the NFL. Yeah. I don't know that he's a better wide receiver coach than Ron Dugans. I just think he had better clay to mold. But I will say this: your job is to develop these guys. Now it seems like I'm on both sides of the fence, but. You look at Williamson and Portier, and I don't know that you would say what we watched this spring, they were worlds better than they were when they got here. I think Portier is much better than we saw this spring. I really do believe in that kid. I think he could have a nice year. Williamson's just been an injury fest. But, that's the job. You get judged by what you produce. And, yeah, Keon was great, but Keon was great when he got here. Johnny was 6'7" when he got here. I think Johnny got better. Much better when he got here. I do think you should get credit for that. I think Pokey got better. I do think you get credit for that. But, yeah, Hakeem is a great lab rat in a sense because there is a lot of clay to mold with that kid. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of nice clay to mold with that kid. I was not impressed much at all this spring, but I was really impressed with how he came on in last fall. So let's see what Hakeem looks like in August. But I get it. It's not – but we are also at the point now, like I just said in the last question. Well, as long as you're producing wide receivers that can play, who cares if they got here when they were 18 or they got here when they were 21? Just go make catches. Go get go bring in guys that can play. That's more important than developing, great wide receiver traits in my opinion. But you can do both, and you can develop. And I don't think there's not really a off the top of my head, what's his best case for developing a guy? Who's his golden child? His gold star, look at what I did with that kid. Look what I turned him into.
Johnny was a punchline in Arizona State circles,
Right.
Like, good luck with all the drops he does. And listen, he kept dropping balls, but he was also catching some really important touchdowns and first downs in plays.
Yeah, and he didn't drop nearly as many balls as people think. And those first downs were enormous. He was a first-down machine when he was here. And I do think Dugan should get credit for that because that kid, Aslan's right. He was a punchline. And he was a punchline here for a little bit with the drops. But he was a great – he's a
difference maker, man.
He made the biggest play of the game in the swamp. Yep. That catch right before half is an unbelievable catch. So I think, I guess that when you Johnny wasn't that guy when he got here. So I do think Dugans deserves credit for that. Now I'm back on the other side of the fence.
I just think, again, in this day and age, there's so much film on receivers. I think you can find a 3-star. You can find a Rodney Hudson. I think still in this day and age, it's under recruited on the offensive line that you can get the credit for developing the kid. Like, I think that Andre Otto, the fact he played at Key West probably is going to help him be like an under the radar guy that's going to end up being a really good player, and then Alex Atkins can take a victory lap. But there's just so much film on these wide receivers. There's not a lot of guys that are 3-star wide receivers other than like Justin Jefferson here in recent memory that end up being these all-world guys. Your first round pick, I mean, Odunze was like a all everything coming out of high school. Marvin Harrison Jr. was all everything coming out of high school. Like these bad dudes, they were born that way. And if you can't get them out of high school, then like, yeah, you'll get the question that Ron Dugans gets. But again, like it's really not all that fair because they've only had 2 good seasons to recruit off of going into year 5. Yeah. And they pulled in Hakeem Williams. Let's see how good he is because he's a guy that a lot of people wanted. If they can get him productive, you feel really good. And if he's not productive, I really think by the end of this year, then yeah, I think I will be more likely to grab a pitchfork or a torch and start questioning Ron Dugans. But for right now,
he brought in the last 2 years. They brought in 6 guys at wide receiver, including this year, 4 true freshmen. Yeah. Let's see what they look like by the end of this year. What is it? Are any of these true freshmen going to be good enough to play? That's a storyline too that we'll watch because they're going to have. I know Van Dravis in the portal. They're going to have 4 true freshmen and Hakeem Williams, who's a second-year guy. Let's see if any of those take big steps. In the next year.
As Quinn67, wake up, gentlemen. Thanks for the voluminous amount of quality content during the spring. I know what the word means. I just can't pronounce it. Love the Warchant lineup. As we finish off the school year, I've noticed we have a lot of teams still competing for championships. My question is, in what year or school year did Florida State win the most championships, conference and national, combined across all sports? P.S. Aslan, proud of you for mowing a lawn. P.S.S. Corey agreed. Headlines crew should not be hired to complete stadium construction.
Yes, that
Go
would be
Noles.
Rough. Somebody on headlines. A question on headlines was, if we had all the equipment that we needed, everything we needed, all the bulldozers and
all
cement,
the materials, yeah,
all the materials. Could Jeff? How long would it take Jeff Iyer and I to complete the stadium construction? And we just said it would never happen. Like, there's no way we wouldn't even know how to embark on it.
Yeah.
We wouldn't even know what the first thing would be to do.
I mean, you could give me the blueprint, but I don't know how to dig up the hole.
Even even a blueprint, I'd be like, what is? I'd have to turn it around. Like, am I looking at it right, or is it upside down? I would have no clue. Just like I have no clue to this question. It's like, is it a trivia question?
When I read the question, I thought he was about to deliver the answer to all of us, but I think he wants to send me on a wild goose chase.
He wants us to go do homework?
Yeah, I don't know, but what was the first year Florida State won a soccer championship? Was it 13 or was it 14, and it was the same calendar year as the national championship in football?
I feel like they won it in 14. They lost in the finals in 13. Yeah. And that maybe, am I getting that wrong? I should know that. It's on that brick building. I can't think of it. I thought they won it in 14. So, yeah, that would technically be the same year they beat Auburn in the championship game.
Yeah, Florida State won it in 14, 18, 21, 23.
And should have won it in 20.
Yeah.
They had a lead with like 10 minutes left in the championship game. Or maybe that was 22.
No, one of those Santa Clara, 2020, Santa Clara.
Yeah.
But then,
let's
about
ACC
go with 14. Yeah, I don't know. But then, conference championships, too. Like, I don't know. There was a sneaky year where, I don't know, tennis just won their first one, so it can't be tennis.
I mean, track used to win them all the time.
Yeah.
Baseball's won a ton. Softball has obviously won a ton. Soccer has won. I think soccer's won it like 7 years in a row or something crazy, which is nuts. I think that's something like that, or 7 out of 8, and that's the toughest conference in America. But yeah, no idea. No idea. I would assume 14 is the only year. I know they won the 2013 national championship in football, but they won it in 2014. So let's say that's the only year they've won.
It was the same school year. It was the 13, 14
you're right.
Academic year or whatever.
Had school years started back? Yeah, you're right. You're right. Yep,
so
you're right. Well,
yeah,
no,
I
it
don't know.
wouldn't be the same school year. It'd be
There
a
might have been
different school
year like in I don't know, maybe like even in 2007 something happened where they won 3. Maybe baseball won one and 2 other teams did, but I can only think of national championships. That's as much as I can index in this small.
So what school?
piece-sized
What
brain of
sports?
mine.
So men's track and field, softball, soccer, and football. Is that it for national championship sports? I know they've been close in others. Beach volleyball. Let's go.
Yeah, beach volleyball would be, I'm sure, won a conference championship.
But I think maybe women's track and field back in the 80s. But I feel like since I've been covering the program, it's been those 4 that have won.
The modern era, some refer
Yes,
to as.
that's right. Yeah.
We made it. Here's the last one, Corey. Island Chief. Wake up! FSU was able to stir up the internet with their ACC championship rings. 13-0, unconquered. I think they're perfect.
Yep.
What say you?
I think that stuff is ridiculous. I think it's the backlash to it. Their ACC championship rings, and I don't care. They were 13-0 last year, and anybody that has a problem with it, go screw yourself. You're just looking for clicks. You're I don't know, man. You're baiting people.
You're being intellectually dishonest.
Well, yeah, man.
Best
because
case.
that was the team. That wasn't the team.
Yeah.
That Orange Bowl didn't count. They were 13-0, and they were getting flack for using the term unconquered as if that's not tied to this school forever. And it's not tied to the Seminole tribe. Like, come on, man. It's just people being willfully ignorant, and I have no time for that. I do that enough myself. I don't like it when people do it to something I actually know something about. So, yeah, I mocked it and rolled my eyes that they got grief for that. They should wear those things proudly. And I don't know what they got for the Orange Bowl. Do you get rings for competing in the Orange Bowl?
I think you get a bowl ring usually, yeah.
Yeah, well, throw those in the river.
Melt them.
Yeah, melt them. Do something else with them.
Listen, I understand that you're opening yourself up in this day and age to get totally dunked on by doing that. I get it. I would have picked.
Cares,
Right?
Yeah,
I don't know. I would. Yeah, it's for like a week.
Would you have put 13-1 on there?
No, that's my thing. I think I would have picked one or the other. I would have either done 13-0 or unconquered. I don't know if I would have done both. I think you could have picked one, and it would have been maybe a little bit more palatable.
I remember the grief they got when they put up in the Civic
roll?
Center.
Oh, yeah.
No, I do remember that too. When they in the Civic Center, they put up the 2020 NCAA tournament banner.
Oh,
Because,
yeah.
they have a banner celebrating each team that got to the NCAA tournament for men's and women's. And there's a lot more women's than men's.
I thought it was an ACC champion banner, and then it just said tournament canceled under it or something.
No, they have one that I think it's just 2020 NCAA tournament, and then there's like it
says canceled on it.
It says canceled in like with an asterisk.
Yeah.
And asterisk. They got grief for that. It's like, well, look, man. They did go. They earned the right to go to the tournament.
Yeah,
they
auto-qualified
qualified for the tournament. They were going to go.
Yeah.
It would suck if they have a string of 18, 19, or 17, 18, 19, and 21, and this kid is in the Civic Center in 2033. It's like, what happened in 2020? Did they suck? Oh no, it was actually the best team of all time. Well, now you see that they would have gone to the tournament in 2020, but they got grief for that. Like it's like, man, they earned what did you want them to do? They're celebrating. They want to celebrate that 2020 team as much as possible because it deserves it. Don't give them grief because the tournament was canceled. And don't give this team grief for getting rings that accurately says what they accomplished. Because it's not their fault they got screwed and snubbed out of their rightful place in the playoff. And then none of the kids wanted to play. So let that ring accurately depict what happened in 2023. Just like that banner in the Civic Center lets people know that was a really good team in 2020.
Amen, brother. Amen. All right, that's a wrap for us. Jeff Cameron Show, 1 to 3 o'clock. Was going to try to bring Matt on again to talk about Portal, but we did it the other day, and then at like 10:30 at night, there was news that broke that changed everything. So I'm not going to be held hostage by kids that have 64 credit hours. I didn't go to Yale for that. Yeah. But yeah, check out the PRB. Matt's dialed in with all the comings and goings and the players and the connections.
Ira's also got a story on the website about the FSU men's basketball program and the comings and goings and where it stands right now roster-wise. So go read that.
We got one more show this week. We got one more. We'll talk about the draft in the first round. I'm just bracing for I don't know if the dam's got to break here, but there's got to be guys leaving here soon. I wonder if I don't want to look forward to people leaving, but I feel like that might be the more newsworthy thing than who they're going to bring in at this point because the Keandre Lambert-Smith kid from Penn State apparently is down to A&M and I think Auburn, which that's bizarre.
Well, look, man, is it though?
I get it, but who's throwing you the ball doesn't matter anymore. I mean, should that matter? That should matter, right?
Nope, doesn't.
Anyhow, all right. Again, Jeff, 1 to 3. Everything else, warchant.com, all the time, every single day. Thanks for listening to Wake Up Warchant, presented by the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill.